Welcome everybody to session 6 of the diabetes prevention program. I think Tanya will be taking us through the program, but I wanted to welcome everybody, especially during these snow days, and thank those who, I encourage everybody to be safe. If you know you are having to go in, and if you're not having to go in, then just be thankful for those who are able to go in. I actually want to welcome Kim Warner to the program, and hope that you'll that you'll enjoy it, and we hope that you can come back to many more. With that, Tanya.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Aker. Hello, everyone. My name is Tanya Sanderson. I'm a nurse practitioner in the ABC Fellowship at North Mississippi Health Services, and tonight we're going to be continuing our diabetes prevention program, session 6. I hope that you're all doing well this evening and trying to stay warm. We certainly have been experiencing some unusual weathery conditions for our area, so I pray that you all stay safe. Tonight, like I said earlier, our session is going to be focusing on how we can become more physically active and also setting up a new action plan. Before we get started, if you're at home, and I assume most people will be at home tonight, if you can gather a couple of canned goods, we'll do an interactive exercise before we finish up. So if you want to take a few seconds just to grab a couple of canned goods. Keeping me a little bit more active while being indoors.
And from the chat box, Erin said she tried to ski in the backyard.
Oh,
and Angel is active all the time. She said she had to go outside multiple times to water and feed the goats and chickens, as well as getting firewood multiple times a day to keep the fire going. So that sounds like that's active lifestyle even beyond the snow.
Definitely being active there.
Keep in mind, it's Tanya's orthopedic rotation. If any of us fall and break anything, Tanya's our in.
Yes.
And not only does she feed those goats, I have seen pictures of goats wearing crocheted sweaters for warmth because she has multiple skills, our Angel does.
All right. And a few weeks ago, I believe in session 2, we talked about ways to become active. So today I want us to think about how much time we've spent on our physical activity for the last 2 weeks. Can someone share how much time you've spent on physical activity for the past 2 weeks? I know we've just gotten started about 4 weeks ago, but has it increased some? Well, I know I started out walking 10 minutes twice a day and have gradually increased that to about 15 minutes in the evening. I walk 10 minutes around lunchtime. So now I've increased that to 25 minutes a day for about 5 days a week. But my goal is to reach 30 minutes a day for at least 5 days a week. So I'm still working on my goal. Anyone else? Anyone in the chat box?
Nothing from the chat box just yet.
Okay. So I'd also like to share with y'all tonight the success story about a young lady named Olga. Olga is at risk for type 2 diabetes, so she's trying to get a little more active each week. Her goal is to be active for at least 150 minutes per week at a moderate pace. Olga takes a gentle stroll around the block. It takes her about 10 minutes. She does this for 3 days that first week. On the second week, Olga walks 2 times around the block, so it takes her 17 minutes, and she does this for 5 days a week. Week 3, Olga walks around the block 3 times, and it takes her 21 minutes. She does this for 7 days this week. So in week 4, she's still following that same walking schedule as she did in week 3, but she's added some hills to her route, and then on one day she's doing a set of two sets of 3 reps with a resistance band. And then on week 5, Olga follows the same walking schedule as she did in week 3. And for 2 days that week, she also does 3 sets of 5 reps with a resistance band. Olga she's meeting her fitness goal that she set from the beginning. And not only has she done that, but she's lost weight and her blood glucose levels have decreased as well. So we see that just setting that goal and then working on it, you might not obtain that all in the first week, but you just keep working, and I believe it took her like 5 weeks before she reached her goal. So I encourage you to continue, and even if you feel like you have failed or fallen, just get right back up and start back with those activities and continue towards your goal. And then how can we be more active? Increasing our time, as Olga did, increase that time each week. We can increase our intensity of the exercise. We can increase the frequency, and also increase, you might do some weights, and fill in that sitting time with some active time as well. I believe Dr. Rayford, you shared with us a few weeks ago about how you used a standing desk, while you were at work, and that was a wonderful way to not be sedentary. And someone else shared how she walked while joining in on virtual meetings. I'm not sure who that was, but that was a great way to include activity while working. And these are some great ideas for filling in sitting time with active time. Is anyone else that would like to share some ideas with us?
So another suggestion that I did in the past in terms of more activity was during commercial breaks, walking in place. At a time where I was really measuring my steps and aiming for as many steps per day, you could get a lot of steps in by walking during the 2 to 3 minute commercial breaks during a 1 hour show. So that was an opportunity. Not only did it get steps in, but it did interrupt sedentary time, which is also another benefit. From the chat box, Aaron says using an under the desk elliptical. There's also kind of under the desk bike pedalers. I've seen that in some people's offices where they pedal. Not a Peloton or extra. It's just the pedals and a mechanism.
Those are some great ideas. Anyone else? Thank you, Erin, for sharing that with us, and Dr. Rayford. Some ways to get more active. We'll just go over a few, but we can do some bicep curls with a can of food while you march in place. And then another idea of something that you could do easily while watching TV, which Dr. Rayford has shared one with us, which was great, are working was arm raises with weights, which you could also use the canned goods. And if you don't own any weights, that's a great way to improvise. So if y'all would like to do an interactive activity, if you've got your canned goods, some arm raises, and I've just got a couple of cans of soup, but is everyone, if you want to participate, that's fine, but just take the cans and put those in your hands and keep your feet flat on the floor, and then hold your hands at sides by shoulder height. Keep your arms facing forward and just take a breath in slowly, and then raise both arms over your head. Keep your elbows slightly bent, palms facing forward, and hold that pose for 1 second, and then breathe in as you slowly lower your arms. So you can see how easily it is to incorporate some activity. You know, whether if you're just sitting on the sofa watching your favorite TV show, or if you're taking those commercial breaks like Dr. Rayford said and taking some extra steps, those are some great ways to easily include activity and get more active, and also do that at work, you know. And I liked the fact that I think maybe it was Angel that has the resistance bands that she takes to work and does that during, I guess, some breaks, and that's a great way to incorporate also. Does anyone else have any ideas?
So from the chat box, Angel says one way to be active is that she gets a small cup of water so that she has to go back numerous times to refill it. Sheila has weights at home, which is another way that she's being active.
Oh, that's a great to incorporate. Anyone else?
So I haven't done it in a while, but there's a lot of videos on YouTube and even Comcast Xfinity, a lot of exercise videos for the different types, a lot of easygoing type and even high intensity type exercises that if you're kind of, you know, in the house like we are today, it gives you some options that, you know, doesn't involve much, but, you know, might involve a mat or something on the floor, or, you know, even using things that you can find in the household.
Great way of just getting a mat, doing some exercise. Please, someone in the chat box.
Yeah, so from the chat box, Sheila says that she has a 7-minute high-intensity workout that she does during breaks at work.
Oh, that's a great way to incorporate at work. You know, just get in as much activity as you can in those breaks. So those are great ideas. Thanks, Sheila, for sharing that. And I just want to encourage you to make an action plan before the next session. If each of you could work on a goal between now and the next session and write 3 actions that you will take in order to reach that goal, and just check them off as you go. Does anyone else have anything they want to share?
Yes, so from the chat box, Robin says that there's the Peloton app. So Peloton is the name of the bike and the kind of the bike and the system, but there's an app that you can subscribe to that has cycling, walking, running, strength training, yoga, even meditation exercises that range from 5 to 60 minutes. And then Sheila says that her 7-minute workout is one that was seen on Dr. Oz, and that she's actually going to send a link to Rebecca to share with the group.
Okay. That will be wonderful. Thank you, Sheila, for sharing that with us. I would love to have the access to the app as well, so I appreciate you sharing that with us. Is anyone else?
And I don't think it was mentioned before, but, you know, as far as, you know, ways to get more activity, using the step counters and setting some step goals. They increase by, you know, 1,000 to 2,000 steps per week. You can get more you get more workout, because at some point you have to consciously get more steps, and that actually involves exercise. And so, I can tell you, for the average person, getting 10,000 steps require of exercise. That typically there aren't many jobs that allow you to get 10,000 steps without actively trying. So using a step counter to as a means of being active, and what you can do is you can count your time that you spent getting the extra steps. So the time you spend trying to make it to the step goal, in addition to the regular day, can be counted as exercise.
That's great. I think I saw something come up in the chat box.
Yeah. So Sheila said that she has a step counter and hit 11,000 steps in a day, which is unusual for her because most days she gets only a few thousand. So yeah, it's a great measure. Many of the phones we have or the watches that we have will just automatically track your steps. And it's a good gauge. There's research that shows that you actually don't have to get 10,000 steps for the health benefit. The 10,000 steps didn't come from scientific studies. It actually just came from the Japanese character that when some pedometers were coming out, the Japanese character for that pedometer looked like 10,000 steps. And so that's where 10,000 steps came from. So in a study where they looked at the number of steps, they found that you can get benefits above 4,000 to 5,000 steps, and that it looked like and it makes sense. It looks at about 7,000 steps where the benefit of more, just when you're looking at big groups, there doesn't seem to be as much health benefit. But I will say that if you go from averaging 7,000 steps a day to averaging 10,000, you're being significantly more active, and I think you'll get benefits from that increase in your activity. I think step counts start as unintentional ways of kind of being active, and then at some point to get your goal, you're going to have to be intentional. And I think that's where you'll get the benefit that comes from that intentional attempt to be more active, more so than the number, so more so than, and so it's actually helpful to people to know, hey, you don't have to have 10,000 steps to get the health benefit. Increase your steps, over your baseline, and just continue to increase for you to get the benefit. Another thing is on exercise, in terms of fitting it in, you can make the chunks as small as 5-minute chunks of exercise. It looks like you'll get a benefit by, if you don't have 30 continuous minutes to exercise, but you have 6 blocks of 5 minutes apiece, that if you did exercise in those 5-minute blocks, you still get the benefit of that 30 minutes of exercise. So break it down as small as you can, which may be helpful for those who don't want to change clothes, those who don't have a lot of time, to just break it up into small, manageable chunks.
Yes, that's great to share with us all, because we can, break that up into small segments, and it might be just a lot easier for people to incorporate into their daily life that way. And, as opposed to I'm going to walk 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and then, maybe they might, after 2 or 3 days, be burned out, and this way they can incorporate that 5-minute walk or 10-minute walk maybe 3 times a day and still get those steps in. So really appreciate all of the ideas we've had shared with us today. Does anyone else have anything?
Yes, Rebecca. One thing that makes me feel better overall is if you can get that 30 minutes in sometime during the day, like you say, even in little broken segments. Maybe you don't necessarily after work or before work that day have time to walk that 30 consecutive minutes. You still know that you've gotten your time in and you feel better, and that extra walking is kind of extra. I would say icing, but since we're trying to lose weight and not mention food, I won't say it's icing on the cake, but it is kind of extra in case if you can embed it throughout your day, you've gotten it by the time you get home from your day at work.
Yes. And then just going back to this action plan, you know, that where will I do it? When will I do it? You know, these are important things to just sit down and come up with a plan, and it will be a lot easier if you've got that plan to put it into action. How long will I do it? The challenges that you might face, for instance, you know, with the weather. A lot of people, I think, you know, go to the mall sometimes in the wintertime to walk if they're not a member of a gym or somewhere. And then just other challenges that you face, which Paige shared with us how she, you know, got out in the yard and with her children and got some activity in, even with the weather as it is right now. Just, you know, if you have young children, you know, maybe it is challenging, but you can always take the stroller out, you know, if you've got a little one in a stroller. But there's different ways, so you think about the challenges that you might face and ways to cope with those challenges. Does anyone else have anything they would like to share with us before we finish up tonight?
I just want to remind the participants in the year-long program about the weigh-ins and the exercise minutes. The website has links to some of the previous sessions, so if you missed some sessions, the website can be helpful for you, as well as links to the handouts for the session and links to the action plan journal if you want to use the action plan journal.
Yes, that's all right. Well, anyone else in the chat box or?
We're good on the chat box.
We're good? Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you all attending tonight, and stay safe and warm, and have a good evening. If Dr. Rayford, is there anything else you would like to say tonight before we?
No, just thank you for your participation, and looking forward to future sessions.
Yes, we appreciate everyone that attended tonight, and it was great to have Kim Warner with us. Thank you for attending with us tonight. Y'all have a safe and good evening, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Good night.